Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division with various wins for the Koh Hong Resorts 9-hole cup with new hole location. Yes, every video here in this playthrough is with a new hole location. Some of the ones has been changed kind of heavily. Some of them has not really been changed much and we play somewhat the same, but hopefully you will enjoy it. And before we take a closer look, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. Follow the info box there on the right hand side for the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to. But there's always a plan behind it. Scan the QR code there on the screen. Go to patreon.com/golfclashtommy for the best guides on the market. For hole number 1, it's very common that we do go left and bounce over the two bunkers there. But I do not have a club for that. So I play on the right side. It's an NMT. 3 right and it's a 3 topspin. Ball guideline to fall down the fairway nicely. Adjustment, I'm playing max plus 20. Using a katana here is not a must, but I do believe that the side spin is very helpful here, especially if you would be having a heavy crosswind or something like that, and also keeping the power 2 is good. Bounces nicely on the fairway, over to the other fairway, and we roll lovely down here for an attempt for the eagle. Second shot, we're gonna play with the Goliath here. Here, the better ball guideline you have, the better it's going to be. Otherwise, it's going to have to be a lot of guesswork, and that's what I say always when it comes to lower level clubs. What I do think the trick is, though, is to have the second bounce on the fairway that is in between the rough and the fringe. And the reason for that is that it gives you a controlled bounce up and then roll onto the green. 10% elevation, true club distance. Adjustment is done, center the ball and hit perfect. Then apparently I have a hard time to hit perfect when the needle swings so slow to my eyes. Great ball it is, and it bounces on the fairway. I mean, there is no risk with this one. Comes in with a good speed. However, though, the great right is obviously gonna make it miss right. I think hole 2 has gone through the biggest change from in a negative perspective. And the reason I think so is that they have moved the pin more right, which doesn't really allow us to do the same type of bounce down play that we normally do without having to use a lot of side spin or curl. So the ways I see this being played is to use the right side fairway that is behind where I'm aiming now to bounce over with backspin for a simple birdie. But to go for the pin, I definitely feel like either a sand bump or a rough bump is going to be the way to play here. And I base that on the fact that, I mean, there is a lot of sand first and foremost. Sure, there is rough as well. And even though the adjustment may be a little bit tricky to do, it's going to be better than just going to bounce down with having too little side spin or have to use curl. I mean, so this one has become much tougher in my opinion. The only hole I can say really that, wow, okay, this one we have to push. Max plus 25 was the adjustment. Hole number 3. Here in headwind, I recommend to play with a ball that do have at least power 3. It doesn't have to be a kingmaker, but they do have a lot of kingmakers on this account, which obviously makes this be more and better value for me than playing with a Titan. But you can play with many different balls. The thing with using a P3 ball here is that it will always allow you to go either without overpower or with very little overpower and reach to approximately 350 yards. Second shot we're going to take a look at is unfortunately a great ball, but what I want you to take a look at is the way I aim here. Now when they have changed the pin to be standing further back and right, I do believe that there is a chance for us to catch a pretty nice funnel. That is, if you come in from right to left of the green. You can see here now that the ball guideline is going back and forth there a little bit. It's all about as well finding a situation where we do finding a situation where we do have a firm ball guideline, so we don't have that much of glitches, because if having all those glitches, we will sometimes have dead bounces and stuff like that. No elevation on second shot, it's true club distance. Tried it perfect. Great balls obviously is not going to be what we do want. And a great right here is definitely inclined to have more dead bounces than otherwise. So it comes down the green, but as we're not really getting the rollout and just having the dead bounces, we settle for a pot for eagle. Hole number 4, the way we have been playing this hole has always been using backspin on that slight downhill slope that we do have before the green starts, and that's not going to change now either. The only difference is that they have moved the pin more left. It's still, what I can tell, is it's still the same kind of length into the green that it has been before. So the only difference I've been doing here is to aim at the same spot, but by using 2 left spin instead to try to aim for the hole in that way. Max plus 20 is what I'm using here, and the backspin will vary depending on what wind angle you have, and it's going to be somewhere around 5 backspin in general. So use the club that do give you 5 backspin. Comes in lovely, though drops dead center for a hole in 1. Even if you hit great balls, it's going to be safely on the green, and there's no real risk to this type of shot. For the drive here on hole number 5, or for hole 5, I would say, we start at max line here, and I'm playing here with a kingmaker to reduce the wind as much as possible for the second shot, not for the drive. The drive is fairly simple. It's the second shot that is such a downhill elevation that it definitely makes a big value of reducing wind as much as possible. 2 powers of backspin, maximum distance plus 20. Beautiful view here with not the islands, but with the cliffs at the back. The ball gets down the fairway, super simple drive, and we are nowhere close to the rough. Second shot, now we're going to play with a long iron that gives us power. If you do have a grizzly in a high level, that could be a way as well, because we should be able to reach this spot. Otherwise it is Goliath to be played with. With a new hole location, the pin here now stands closer to the rough than what it did before, but I actually think that's better, because that means that it's going to be less rollout, less things that could happen before we get the ball to the hole, and it also makes the rough bump to be even a better play than if having to just lay up on the right side with our drive and play with a sniper from distance. Medium distance, or let's say like this, true club distance with a 40% elevation is a massive downhill drop here, have that in mind. And we hit the rough, and it drops it dead center for a lovely eagle here on hole number 5. On hole number 6, I strongly advise you to play with the big topper, as that will allow you to go with a lot of topspin. So all the topspin, half a left, and you don't have to play with the big topper level 4. You can play with another big topper level if you would like, but again, the big topper is very useful, especially, I would say, especially in the lower stages of the game, because that's when you do not have your extra mile, your Thor's Hammer, or your Apocalypse upgraded to a decent level, and then you're gonna have to settle for the club that do have a lot of topspin, because there is value in reaching to a further distance, such as this hole here, by using the big topper. Max plus 10, no overpower. We try to just in a controlled way get as far down the fairway possible. On the second shot, if we do have the possibility, and here I do think it comes down to that they are made a pretty big change in terms of where they place the pin. The pin is now way more left than before, which when it comes to the bounce over is not going to be as good as before, because you have more rough and sand to cover. It's going to be more difficult to find the speed, which in this case means that we're going to have the distance to be able to go for the rough bump, which no matter what, no matter where the pin stands, is going to be the best chance for a drop. Now, unfortunately, I just wrong here. I adjust too much. I adjust 10% elevation, which is also the reason why I dropped this one with great right, because no elevation is what you should play, which is what we have always played, but I forgot to change it from being playing 10% on the hole before. So, a little bit lucky, obviously, with a great right, but you get the idea. The rough bump is the best way to play. For hole number 7, we are going to play on the right hand side, especially when we do have intermediate clubs. And sure, if we do have a tailwind and we have big boy clubs and we can play with big boy ball, and we can push it on the left hand side to get close to green. But now we're playing a sensible way, safe, very little, yeah, not much aggressive with this route here. Max plus 20 for the drive and play with a navigator, trying to ping this ball down the fairway as far as I can. Obviously, when it comes to having this drive, the fairway slopes right to left, so it's better to aim a little bit more to the right hand side of the fairway. You can see how the ball rolls down to the left there, because if playing too much to the left, that's going to be a problem for us, especially if we hit a great left. Second shot, we are going to play with our sniper, and here I'm going for a rough bump because I do believe the rough bump is the best possible chance for a drop. However though, if you do not like to play the rough bump, you might feel it's too risky for your playstyle, then you back up and you bounce on the fairway before the rough and the sand over towards the pin. What that will do is that it will give you a less chance for a drop, but it will be with less risk. So obviously now taking a little bit more risk for the rough bump, we allow ourselves to be a little bit more consistent in getting drops. 10% elevation, true club distance, it's what we are using. You can see here with the new hole location, it's more or less very similar to what it was before. A tad further back, but that's kind of it. I would say maybe a little bit more to the right as well. So very friendly hole location here. A whole location change, I must say. Bounce into the rough, rolls up onto the green, takes a turn, dead center for a lovely eagle on hole 7. On hole number 8, we're going to play from absolute min line when it comes to a headwind. I would say if we do have a tailwind, I would recommend to still use a sniper, but to go with a ball with less power. This to allow yourself to aim further back and still attack the pin from this type of angle. The value with using the sniper over playing with a long iron, especially if you do have lower level clubs, is the fact that you have a good ball guideline, but you also have a good accuracy. Aiming for the pin, adjustment in the video I play minimum distance with a 35% elevation, should be minimum distance plus 40, that should be a better way to get a drop. But this is such a massively downhill hole, and it's going to be very difficult to get this drop on a consistent basis. Hole 9 has always been and will always be a tough par 5, and I will show you on demonstration how to play this hole with as little risk as I possible can take. But we're gonna have to play on the right hand side. Playing on the left hand side is just going to fool you. It's not gonna be good. Don't do it. Play on the right. I set up with the quarterback to find max line, to easier find a spot with my extra mile. 4.5 bar top spin, 3 left spin, and I'm using a kingmaker because there is a risk of this drive going short, and then we do not want to feel ourselves left with a P1, P2 or P0 ball and having to go with overpower or a lot of overpower on the second shot. Especially, again, with lower level clubs. Maximum distance plus 10, and the ball comes nicely down the fairway. When it comes to the second shot, I mean, this is not my best attempt in the world, but at least it demonstrates what my idea is here. When having headwind, I recommend to use all the topspin that you can to back up and try to find a spot where the ball guideline rolls to the hole without you having to use overpower. But as I only have sniper 7, the overpower is going to unfortunately be a must, even though the wind is very low. The pin stands more left now than what it did before, which, I mean, very minor difference as well. It's not really going to make that much of a difference in my opinion. Great ball, unfortunately, having to use overpower, then obviously greats are gonna be happening more and more. A little bit too much overpower, and obviously a great left is gonna be his left-hand side. Hole number 9, very tough one to Albatross. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this playthrough for Koh Hong Resorts 9-hole cup with various wins. This is with the new hole locations as well. Make sure to scan the QR code here on the screen and go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy and sign up for the best guides on the market.